You repeatedly over the spring had been calling for $2,000 a month direct cash injections to average Americans, so much so that you and Ohio Congressman Tim Ryan even put forward a bill calling for that. That's not in this. So what changed? Did you find that was just untenable? It wasn't going to happen?
No, that's what I would love. And I voted for the original HEROES Act, which was $3.4 trillion. I voted for the $2.2 trillion that the House Democrats have. I believe our House plans are better than what the White House is proposing. But the point is, I'm one of 435 members of Congress. There are two chambers of Congress. The Republicans control the Senate. Trump is in the White House. And the point is, I could say, well, let's have the Khanna Ryan plan or nothing. Or I can say, constituents of mine are hurting. We have to compromise. We have to get something done. And I'd rather they get some stimulus check and some rent assistance than nothing. And that's really what we're talking about is get something done. Let's all compromise at a time of a national crisis.
I am with Ro Khanna on this one. The only elected progressive, as of the recording of this video, who has called Pelosi out on what I think is clear election strategizing with this stimulus bill, and it's risking many people's lives and the health of the entire economy. Again, a lot of the blame is not on her. And I will say, it's all on McConnell since May. He sat on the HEROES Act that was passed in the House and refused to bring it up for a vote. And now it's closing in on Election Day, and the White House is more desperate to get a bill through, and Pelosi's using that against them. Okay, so now the blame's also on Pelosi, because people are hurting. Ro Khanna has pushed for the most progressive position on this issue, the best bills possible, and he's even saying, no, but we need to compromise right now. There is so much pain in the United States, and the consequences are dire, as I said in my other video, especially as a second wave is very likely to hit in November, December, January. And then there's no economic relief in the middle of the lame duck session. That would be so catastrophic, I can't even express it. And now that's looking like the likely scenario. Luckily, you have reporters like Jeff Stein of the Washington Post who are being quite aggressive in calling out, the ridiculousness of the fact that there's been a stalemate here. Andrew Yang just came out publicly yesterday and said Pelosi should take this deal. And then, of course, Ro Khanna said this, even though Pelosi dismissed this and said, oh, Ro Khanna, that's nice, on CNN the other day. This is where people are, though. So I just mentioned Jeff Stein of the Washington Post, who's one of the best reporters in the game right now. He's been posting screenshots of the Reddit unemployment page, which now has the suicide hotline at the top of its page because of how dire things are for human beings in this country right now. These are some of the kinds of posts that you see on Reddit/unemployment. People hiding from their landlord until they inevitably have to go to court after being evicted. This woman, she has difficulty walking because of a disability and can't pay the rent, but she also can't go somewhere else because she's behind on her rent now and won't get approved elsewhere. And this person who can't get their medication right now and is so sick and could be on the street soon, and they feel like a failure. You're not a failure. You're not a failure. Our corrupt government is a failure. Our corrupt government is a failure. And now I know what everyone's going to say here. Well, some Senate Republicans said they wouldn't even agree to the deal that Mnuchin and Pelosi were closing in on, the $1.8 trillion deal. Have to make that decision. Put the ball in their court as an election nears for the Senate as well. I guarantee you it's a lot more likely than what they're saying now. When they have to make the decision that they're going to go back to their constituents and say, I voted against the stimulus bill that would give you and your friends and your family who are unemployed, who are hurting financially right now, a $1,200 check and also $400 unemployment. So the Senate GOP is way more likely to fall in line behind the White House than what is currently being reported right now. And that is a cover for Pelosi's position. So I'm completely with Ro Khanna on this. And now, because Senate Republicans are so desperate to appear like they're doing something, McConnell is trying to circumvent this process and pass a separate bill that's only to enrich corporations to help businesses. They say small businesses, but it's mostly corporations, big businesses, taking out all of the provisions, the good things that Pelosi had negotiated, like the $1,200 check and the unemployment. It's not going to pass the House, but this signals that Republicans are desperate to appear like they're doing something. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell announced on Tuesday that the Senate will take up a narrow economic relief bill when it comes back in session next week. Next week. President Trump immediately undermined the move, writing on Twitter, "Stimulus, go big or go home." The clashing measures were a stark display of GOP disunity just 3 weeks before the November election, as Senate Republicans balk at a $1.8 trillion relief package Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin has offered to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. Trump, though, has suggested Republicans should agree to an even bigger deal than what Democrats have offered. Like, he will sign whatever on his desk. He is desperate. Let's go, Pelosi. Pelosi has already rejected Mnuchin's offer as completely inadequate, criticism she repeated Tuesday in a letter to House Democrats where she wrote, "Tragically, the Trump proposal falls significantly short of what this pandemic and deep recession demand. The new bill will cost roughly $500 billion and will include provisions to extend enhanced unemployment insurance and the Small Business Paycheck Protection Program, as well as money for hospitals and schools, among other things. Holding a floor vote on a narrow relief package could give cover to endangered Senate Republicans while putting Democrats on the spot as a bipartisan package remains out of reach." Another reason Pelosi should have accepted that. A spokesman for Senate Minority Leader Charles E. Schumer had no immediate comment on what Democrats would do. Democrats blocked the slimmed-down package McConnell tried to advance last month, calling it woefully inadequate because it omitted provisions like new $1,200 stimulus checks. Even if it were to pass the Senate, such legislation would face almost certain death in the House. And now Mnuchin's bill has those checks, and Pelosi's not agreeing to it. The point is that Republicans are in the weak position right now. They've turned the dial of electoralness to the weak position. I'm sorry, that's a Dave Rubin reference. It's time to take advantage. I do believe that a deal could be reached if Pelosi had made the decision to accept that and it could be sent to the Senate. They are authoritarians by nature. They follow what Trump does, and they need this more than the Democrats do. Definitely more than the Democrats do in the way the polls are looking right now. Use that to help the American people. Don't just use that to cripple Trump and increase electoral chances marginally going into November 3rd when most people have their mind made up, Nancy. Most people have their mind made up. Help human beings now. That's what we need to do. So I'm super on the side of Ro Khanna here.